Hey everybody, thanks for showing up this Saturday. Man, we have got not too much game-wise to go over, but we've got a lot of good content in this stream. BroccoLee and I, BroccoLee's in the chat right now, BroccoLee and I kind of started a slightly controversial topic in the playtest channel on the Earth War server last week, or the week before that, when I was, looking over the 5-star combiners and comparing some to their 4 stars or to some 4 stars on the server. We noticed that some of the 4 stars still outpowered some of the 5 stars. And so that got me going with the topic of, hey, we need to really figure out how to balance these combiners. I didn't really have much more to contribute on past that, but BroccoLee, bless his heart, he took some time out of his own schedule and shared a big, long compendium. Well, a summation, not a compendium, but a good summation of some ideas that we can throw around on balancing the combiners, and I'll show some of those stats and some of those, and we'll explore some concepts as both from what BroccoLee had suggested, what I'm kind of thinking, and I want to hear your thoughts on it too. But we're going to start off with the good old-fashioned shout-outs. Let's see who we've got. We've got the BBS Ghost. We've got Dread81. We've got Marco Davies Santos. I believe I know who that is. Welcome to the stream. Glad that you could make it. We got Dr. Claw in the chat. I know he's been rather regretful about missing some of the streams. He definitely posts the comments on them. So glad to see you, Claw. We've got Maddie, who's becoming a regular. Let's see. We've also got the aforementioned BroccoLee, who is a big contributor to this week's stream. We've got Radio Wave. We've got Soundwave / Fireclaw. I'll probably just either call him Fireclaw or Soundwave, one of the two. We've got Foxter Bomb. We've got my good friend and irritable Autobot Trax. Good to see you, my friend. And actually, I do have a good recipe for chicken Alfredo, believe it or not. We've got SCF Champion 74. I could have sworn I saw some Radio Wave 74, and right now we've got Raj here. So okay, not a big turnout today. It's all right. People will probably show up as they come in. Um, and yeah, true Fireclaw. I mean, I call you pain in the butt. I call you pain in the tailgate. I call you a friend, a brother, and everything else. So it's all good that way. um, and Albright just showed up, and no, you're not late. We just pretty much started it, so we're all good. We're all good. So no worries about being late. As you probably heard, we were still in the introductions, so not a big deal that way. But yeah, so like the thumbnail says, we're going to talk about some concepts and some general discussion on balancing combiners. I definitely will share the recipe later. But getting back on topic, so yeah, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, after doing one of the streams, BroccoLee and we were discussing, and I put out the idea, and I think it was either in Balance Patch 3 channel or in the Playtest General channel, that we should definitely concentrate on working on balancing the combiners. I didn't have much more than that. And then BroccoLee, bless his heart, he earlier this week, he put out a big list. He did some testing here, and I'll be sharing some of the concepts with it in that. So yeah, we're gonna. I know I saw Fireclaw say he wants to see some Mirage builds or breakdown builds and stuff, but I'm gonna primarily stick to topic today. So yeah. The only thing that's not going to be on topic today are going to be our announcements today. All right, we've got the new combat coming, Wingblaze and Chopster. You may have seen in a couple of last streams that we've been playing with them and testing them. And I know earlier in one of my streams I said, "Ooh, these guys are kind of like Scorpulator and Tyrannotron, except for melee bots." That still kind of holds, but some of their scope has definitely changed. They are definitely melee DPS combats, and maybe we'll touch on them later. We've got a new HQ19 building reveal. As you can see in the announcements, we see the 3 variants of the MDS. And of course, through my HQ reveal later, review coming up, you'll see them in better detail. And while it wasn't directly announced in the game server or in the newsletter, we do have the new Power Core rarity showing up in game. That's the Cyber Knight core. A lot of people have been asking on the Earth Wars server and elsewhere, why are the bronze cores down at the bottom now, higher level than G Metal? They're not bronze. As you can see, it's got like an orange copperish tinge to it, not bronze. So these are going to be a new rarity. We still don't have much information on them yet, but here's what I do know. For those of you that are like, what the hell is Cyber Knight? Cyber Knight is, according to lore, a material that the Transformers and their buildings are made out of. In the Bayverse movies, they called it Transformium. In other parts of the Transformers lore, it's called Cyber Knight. And that's pretty much all I've got. Now, if we base that off of lore, we got a couple of cool, interesting ideas. I hope that we'll see some of these cores at this rarity from last year's Christmas test battle. We had some really cool cores in there that looks like that really gave a lot of us a challenge. Some of us not so much of a challenge, and others of us just liked the idea of these new defensive cores. So yeah, that was definitely a fun, cool thing to see. So yeah, with version 30, finally getting a final push and a publish. There's been some hiccups going on with it. I'm not going to dwell on those right now. And we're going to move straight into the HQ19 building reveal. Okay? So, here we are. Here is the HQ19 headquarters for both the Autobots and the Decepticons. I'm still liking these designs. I'm not going to lie about that in any way, shape, or form. I really still do like these. And then we're going to move on down the line to the alloy harvesters. And I know a lot of my regulars who show up lately are just like, oh, okay, here we go again. But, I like to just keep it all well grouped together so that everybody can get an idea of what these buildings are going to look like as a group. So I'm kind of hoping that we get something. We do have a new defense building coming for HQ19. I don't know any of the details about it yet. And then these are the Energon harvesters, and I showed the alloy storages prior to that. And here's the scanners. I'm still liking a lot of these updates. Some of these updates are really great, and some of these designs are rather aggressive. Like these autocannons. These autocannons look like stationary tanks. They're really looking good. But of course, we're going to have to see how they actually show up on a base, and hopefully we'll know soon. And J-Rad just showed up, as did Rush DeHoskin. So hi guys, welcome to the stream. And then here's our, what do I call these? I call these the Planet Express walls. I still love these walls. They look great. And then we've got our stasis mines coming in here. And then we've got our beam lasers. I do not have any DoorDash links available, Tracks. Not on my channel anyway. And I prefer making my chicken Alfredo at home from scratch. And by scratch I mean, I actually roast the chicken, make the sauce. I don't make the pasta, but anyway, and here's the new beam lasers, which look really aggressive as well. And Fireclaw saying he really likes the look of the autocannons. Yeah, I mean, they're looking really aggressive, and I like the fact that they have that tanky, aggressive feel. And here's the missile launchers. And then we're going to come down to the shock towers. And ever since they've been introduced, I've been emphasizing this extra building that you see on the side of the shock towers. That's the filament core that goes in the center. It's not an extra add-on to the building. They're just rendered as two different models. And then we've got our laser turret, which these are looking pretty nice too. They're not as aggressive looking as the autocannons in my opinion, but I really do like the looks of these. And then we've got our new shield gens, which came out 2 weeks ago, which were revealed 2 weeks ago, and these look interesting. Like I said, they kind of look like a space needle or something. So it's going to be interesting to see what these do. And then we've got our brand new building, the MDS, the Multi-Defense System. And here are the Autobot and Decepticon variants. We've got the plasma cannon, we've got the minigun, and we've got the laser cannon. So I mean, these are all looking really great. They're staying in line with the HQ9 aesthetic. So yeah, I mean, these kind of look mean, especially the minigun. The minigun looks like it could be formidable, and the plasma turret still just looks like a little ball. But I am really liking these designs. Hey, We Are the Ones are here. Hey, welcome, We Are the One. Glad to see you. And Phoenix just joined, and he's late, or he's saying he's late. But hey guys, glad to see you all. And you guys came in at the perfect time too. Here's the MDS for HQ19. Three variants so far that we know of. People love to speculate that there's a fourth or a fifth one coming. I have not heard anything of that, but anything and everything is subject to change. So yeah, there's the HQ-19 buildings. All right, now, whew. Wow. Okay, hold on. I messed up because I didn't come fully prepared for this right now. To add BroccoLee's content to this discussion about balancing combiners. So bear with me for a minute. I didn't have enough time today. But so, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, I just broached a general idea that we needed to have some form of, balancing combiners, because we had talked about, showing off the 5-star Optimus Maximus and Bruticus, and, we discover that, things here just don't look quite right amongst the rest of the combiners. A lot of them are, wow, that came out huge. That came out huge. But we'll adjust the font size here. And now I'm probably going to have to expand this a bit, but yeah. But some of the ideas that BroccoLee had mentioned came out really, really good. And I'm going to have to, I'm still going to have to make some adjustments here, but we'll take care of it one at a time. I had shown off, we got the 5-star Bruticus, we've got the, yeah, I messed it all up, but it's still kind of intact. But I'll read over the notes, BroccoLee. And there we go. There's Trax bringing his trademark jadedness to the chat. Optimus, Maximus, and Bruteless. They actually work pretty well. They're not. I wouldn't say they're actually chase-worthy in my opinion. But again, that's my opinion, and I tend to be a little bit biased sometimes, and I can admit that. But I was not at all very impressed with these new bloody combiners that we got. I mean, a lot of us actually really weren't. I mean, we kind of fought hard. We had them in a really good place, and then they went kind of in a different direction than where we had them. And I think it was because we had offered them some good, honest feedback, and it wasn't quite what they were expecting to get, but we gave it to them anyway. But, so yeah, I kind of started the topic of, hey, we've really got to balance these 5-star combiners, because especially considering we've got we've got a few 4-stars that can still outperform these 5-star, all of the 5-stars. We've got Tripredicus and Magnaboss, who have better stats, better health, and better damage at 4-star than most of the 5-stars right now. Galvatronus and Skyrain is another one of those, where the 4-stars are really able to compete and hold their own against 5-star combiners, which is obviously what prompted me to mention this. And some of the notes up on the screen are what BroccoLee shared. And this is only partial notes. I've got more, but I'll probably read those off from what I had copied. Thanks, Trax. His patented Trax wittiness. But the idea about being able to balance these combiners, all of them, the 4-stars, the 5-stars, everything, BroccoLee says that, there's no way to include a 4-star version of the current 5-star combiners, as ranking them's not possible. And that's right, because once you unlock a 5-star combiner, you can't play it as a 4-star. I really think that that is kind of one of the overlooked mechanics of the combiners. I will personally die on the hill that they are a very, very expensive, very time-consuming battle boost. And for the most part, that is what they are. But I'm not here to start an argument about what a battle boost is and what it isn't. I want to really concentrate on the combiner side of things. So, in that regard, let's take a look-see here. Let me just show you what I'm talking about here. Okay. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 5-star combiners. That's 6 out of 11. So we've got 5 left. We've got Abominus, we've got Tripredicus, we've got Galvatronus, we've got Devastator, and we got Menasar. Okay. Now keep in mind, these are all of the combiners that I have in 4 and 5-star. Okay. And they're all maxed. So these are fairly accurate numbers, and these are on my playtest account. That's how I have them all this way. But here, I'll load up the lab. Okay, here's our newest, freshest combiner. Okay, he still only has 900 damage. That's the same damage that his 4-star did. Okay, his 4-star had a little bit less health. It had like 9,000 health, so he did get a big health boost, but the damage stayed the same, and that was kind of where the point I was making. And I think BroccoLee, as I'm looking over his notes, he did also kind of agree with that it needed a health boost too. So and then we've got Overlord, who's got 825 damage. These are 4-star damage stats. They all go down the line similar to that. Even Dino King, my beloved Dino King that I love so much, only got a boost from his 4-star stats. And that was only in health. Same thing with Abominus. As you can see here in the 4-star, he's got like 885 health. So he got one of the lowest damages, And then we've got everybody's favorite combiner to hate right now, God, Neptune and Ruination. Their 4-star damage didn't get an increase at 5-star. Their health did, but their damage didn't. And and Dread is correcting me. It's like 730 DPS. So that was a big buff. Thanks, Dread. Appreciate that. But when you're looking over at these 5-stars, like here's Lyle Kaiser, his health is still 5 digits, and his damage is actually one of the higher parts of the 5-star range, but he's still not doing much in terms of his base damage. They're not really getting a boost now. Combiners like Predaking, they did get a step down on their 4-stars as we were developing. They did get a step down. Because the 4-star, if I recall correctly, originally was getting somewhere just under 1,100 damage. And then when they reworked the 5-star, they knocked it down to 930 or 950. And we finally ended up with 930 after the rework. So, he did get a nerf on the damage side. And, but then you've got this glorious 3-bot combiner, Magna Boss and Tripredicus, whose 4-star has, 93,000 health and 1,060 damage. Now, this is a 4-star. Now, granted, his health won't help him out here, but his damage, he can still do a lot of damage, far better than the 5-stars that we've gone through. And I'm talking about the base damage. I'm not talking about the ability damages. And even those are kind of low. So, But we'll explore this, and I'm willing to run this on to like 2 sessions or whatever. So just keep that in mind. And then we've got Galvatronus, who still doesn't have an unlocked 5-star, so we don't know what his specs are going to be, but we'll keep it here. So we'll keep it here for propriety, so we'll be able to compare when we unlock, when they give us a 5-star. And of course, we've got Devastator, who's one of the lowest on the rung for the 4 stars, and then Menasar is definitely there at the bottom, which is really surprising considering that he's got some good damage when he can survive. But that's primarily the major issue with the combiners that we have going on, is that there's a lot of us, Trax, BroccoLee, Dread, myself, whenever we're working on the combiners in playtest, it has come up with every single one of them. We need survivability, and we do work out different combinations on their abilities, and we always say, hey, no matter what you do for a rework or an ability, there's got to be something that either has a damage reflection or a damage reduction shield. And if you're going to continue to tweak these stats so that they're a lot less and a lot lower, it can be really, really frustrating. And I know with Bruticus and Optimus Maximus, those were the major arguments we had. Was this combiner needs to survive. This combiner needs to do something. It needs to be able to inflict damage. And the big thing that we always emphasized was these combiners we get are not supposed to be end-all be-all solutions to the battlefield, but they should be able to do something on them. Survivability and damage output is like a must have for these to be viable, usable, and worth investing in. And I mean, we did get some good results from Bruticus and Optimus Maximus. They could have been better. I mean, even when we were working on the Predaking rework, BroccoLee, Trax, and myself, and Jakedo, who was at Playtest at the time, we were all frustrated because we're not seeing benefits to this 5-star. What the heck are you guys doing? And I mean, that was a little bit over a year ago, or actually almost 2 years ago now. And so it's just been frustrating trying to get these combiners to do something, to survive, to do damage, and do something well. We definitely don't have a lot of clear avenues on the combiners. We've seen some that are definitely worth their weight in gold on offense. We've seen others that are strictly defense. We've seen some that are fairly mid-baseline for both. And then we've got ones that don't have a clear purpose overall. And which brings me back around to some of the specs that BroccoLee gave out here for his testing. He wanted a max damage output and survivability differences between all available max combiners. What he's saying is that these nerfs, then partial buffs for the 5-stars when we're reworking them. The 4-stars get a slight damage buff or nerf, and then as a 5-star get brought up to almost their original values, sometimes a little bit over, sometimes a little under. But the thing that remains is that they are always squishy. And that is just kind of frustrating. So, there are some things that here BroccoLee brought in mind. you know, that combiners should be primarily hard mode shield gen cluster with a few defenses around on an active shield gen and able to, help out with build bots with zone heals, Micronus cores, Alchemist cores, and self-repair cores on the MDSs, be able to not necessarily one-shot these, but do some substantial damage to these. And he does make a good point here that is a fairly overall good spec to go by. And I don't think it should just be for combiners. We could apply those that spec and that scope to other things. We had a couple of varying discussions yesterday in Earth Wars Lounge, but I think for the combiners, that's a very safe target scope to work with. And in BroccoLee's testing, he found that he's got a couple of rankings here. The number one that really did that for him was 5-star Optimus Maximus and Bruticus. It took 29 seconds to take out with an 80% health left. So that's great to say that. He targeted this active shield gen with these cores and the specifications set up, and it only took him just under half a minute to be able to obliterate this key base defense cluster. And then he tried it out with Computron and Lyo Kaiser. That took 32 seconds, and they only had about 20% health left. Then he tried it with Volcanicus and Predaking. They did that in 38 seconds, had about 20% health left. And then, Raiden and Dino King, it took 41 seconds. And then, they had a little bit better health at 25% left. The thing is that a lot of people, and I know that a lot of us playtesters here, we've got, a wonderful set of guys here who will help out with combos, help work out combinations for the abilities, and help strategize out with the bot with the combiner strategies. And like BroccoLee just said in chat, he just did another rotation and Dino King kind of moved up to the top. So that kind of proves that if you use their abilities in certain combinations in certain ways, yes, you can get great damage and great sustainability out of these combiners. Just like Trax had showed me about, my playtest is flashing. Just how Trax had showed me, ooh, man, that's not good. That's weird. But anyway, I'll get out of this screen for the moment. But just like, at first I was like, I'm not completely sold on Predaking and Volcanicus. Trax in the chat was yelling at me about how to use them and get some sustainability going with them. And once I saw how Trax was explaining how to use them, I saw the potential there. I'm still not on board with, having him be the number one offensive combiner. I really think that's going to be a per player basis type of situation. It's going to be however you guys want to use them, but just trying to get these combiners on a decent plateau a baseline that we can all work with, and then address and refine, I think is a necessary thing. We've got to be able to get these guys balanced. I think we should have three major levels of this plateau, this baseline that we should do. Combiners for offense, combiners for defense, and then combiners that can do both. I'm not saying that we have to have every single combiner be able to clear a Prime League hard mode base. BroccoLee gave us a good test case, and I assume, BroccoLee, that you were using your yeah, let me try to load it back up again, and I'll try to get it going so that we can show some things off. As long as my playtest doesn't decide to zap out like it was, I will definitely bring it up so that we've got some perspective here too. So thank you for saying that. You know, but see, Trax is making a good point here. You know, Computron is the best war combiner. Volcanicus is the best Mayhem event combiner. Ruination is the best on the beach combiner. Thanks for that, Trax. I was reading that and I got what you were saying. Okay, so, but that's the other thing that I'm thinking about. Not all the combiners should be limited to a specific game mode either. You know, I can understand where Trax is coming from, strategically speaking. I can understand where he's coming from on that. You know, you do want some combiners that can help do specific things. I get that. But the problem that I think BroccoLee, Trax, Fireclaw, and myself are all seeing, and even the other playtesters, what we're all seeing is that none of these combiners are doing one thing good. They do one thing passable, but not one thing good. And we're not asking for a jack of all trades. You know, we're just asking. I could have sworn your base was near the top here. I guess Cheeto's been playing around. But we're not asking for one combiner to rule them all. And we're not asking for one combiner to rule to rule all game modes. You know, there needs to be some balance. You know, we've got 11 combiners in game. We're not asking for 6 offensive ones and 6 defensive ones. We're not even asking for one to be good on both. You know, there should be like a subclass of combiners, honestly. There should be a defensive set of combiners, which could be Skyrain and Galvatronus, could be God Neptune and Ruination, and could be, I'd say, Bruticus and Optimus Maximus. I'm just throwing these out here. These are not actual propositions. These are just examples. And then we could have another set that are strictly defensive style combiners. You know, Computron and Lyokaiser, Tripredicus and Magnaboss. That type of set. And have these subclass of combiners be balanced at their own levels, you know, so they all do one thing well, rather than have to try to have them be jacks of all trades. And here's BroccoLee's base here on playtest as he asked me to pull up, and it seems to be holding stable right now, so that's good. Okay, BroccoLee, this is the layout that you had set up for your left side of the base, right? You had set it up to test against these strategic building clusters. So you know, you're getting some perspective here, guys. And Fireclaw is kind of agreeing with that, and I know that in some ways BroccoLee agrees with that, but BroccoLee can also disagree with it. You know, we've got some 4 stars that are outperforming some 5 stars. One of them right now, the only one that's actually kind of doing that, is Tripredicus and Magnaboss. You know, he can take out that cluster in about 40 seconds. He can be left with some good health. But, you know, and probably won't take out the whole thing, but he can take out the majority of the thing. So, I mean, these are, and I'm agreeing with BroccoLee on this. I do think combiners should be starting off at the Prime League at least. Not necessarily hard mode, but definitely Prime League level baseline. That's just because combiners are squishy little components in this game anyway. And I know I've said it a billion times over the years, and I know I just said it earlier on the stream. Combiners are battle boosts. They're supposed to help soften the base. They are very expensive, they are very time consuming, and they can be a gargantuan pain in the backside. But they should not also solo a base. They need to be able to help clear the base, not entirely clear the base. Like Fireclaw is saying, and like BroccoLee is saying, they should be able to do it. And Trax is bringing up a beautiful point here. He's bringing up a very good point here. Until the devs stop looking at the combiners as just battle boosts, nothing will change. They fail to realize the resources that we are spending to get a 5-star combiner maxed, and they are becoming not worth the price. And that is one of the major key factors that I do have to 100% agree with Trax on this case. They should not be considered battle boosts. They still function like one, but they should not be considered one. They should be part of the squad lineup, just like a lot of people will have to say, as I've argued in the past, and you know what, we'll throw Tripredicus in here, just to give a cool little show of force. We'll do Tripredicus here, and I don't expect to beat BroccoLee's base with this setup. I didn't even look at the squad I'm using, but I just want to show the combiner off. So here we go. Now, I know not everybody's going to agree, and that Trax does not completely agree with, the baseline for combiners should not be Prime League. And he's saying that it should be more about Cybertron League. Okay, I can give you that. I can completely and utterly agree to that, Trax, because I think like we've said in the past, pushing everything to the Prime League or Prime League hard mode pinnacle can make the content exceedingly overpowered in other zones. So I can concede and agree to having Cybertron League or as a very good baseline. I can definitely agree with that. And hey, BroccoLee, my 4-star Tripredicus took out that entire cluster. That was nice. That was good to see. But I can totally I totally see where you're coming from, and that makes a lot of sense there, Trax. I'm not trying to placate or anything like that. I do understand that. I do understand exactly where you're coming from, and I think that is a very good point. That perhaps, we should the devs as well as us playtesters should have a basic baseline that we need to work from. And I think that's one thing that we are missing in that particular instance, Trax. I think that we never do get a baseline. We don't get a base specification going on, like where are these going to work, where should these be targeted, and then we can address it from there. And that's always been a big question that we've all brought up. is how are we going to be able to balance these combiners when we don't have a baseline or a minimum level to start with? Where should they be targeted? Where should they be optimal? And I do kind of agree with you on that, Trax. Let's see. BroccoLee is... Oh, I got some more comments up here. Let's see before I finish up here. Okay, I left off... Where did I left off quite a bit. Okay, cool. Right, dev stop and that. Okay, BroccoLee said, hope to get this shield gen cluster to be an official benchmark for combiners for any players to use to check numbers under the same thing. And that's what I like about your test results, BroccoLee, just like Cicada used to do and I used to do when we were just doing just blanket tests, is that we did, a fair midline. We set a baseline. So I do agree with you there. Twilight, you're a little late to the stream, but you're not bad off, bro. So you're good, and you'll play it. You'll watch it on replay. Yeah, and even Fireclaw is agreeing that maybe Cybertron League is a good baseline to test and set up for these combiners. BroccoLee is saying the game balance endpoint is at max HQ 17, low HQ 18. Because Zone 15 is still overall used by the most, this still keeps down stats on new content. Yes, I know what you're saying here, Brock. Since everybody and their brother can get optimal points and optimal, and that's including events, that's including some, platinum to low Cyber League wars, in that aspect. Zone 15 is like the sweet spot in terms of points and content and competitiveness for the majority of players. We do need to up that ante. I do kind of agree with you on that, Brock, and Trax. We do need to up that ante and make that ante at least, I would say, Cyber 1 or 2 at least. Even split the difference and say Cyber League 3. Give that as our baseline, because that'll fluctuate. With strategies and tactics, we can either fail or move up. And I think Cyber League 3 might be a good place for that. And that's how I'm kind of seeing it. Let's see. We got Sharksy. Hey, he finally showed up. And then we've got SC Champion. He says, yeah, the event boost as a permanent thing would be fun. Would help with leveling bots. Yeah, that's a totally different mechanic and a totally new feature that's coming into it with the premium zones for the events. Yeah. So, let's see what else. Fireclaw says, something always goes wrong, Dr. Claw, responding to Dr. Claw with, if something goes wrong, blame Twilight. Yes, I always blame Twilight, whether it's my playtest, because, he likes to use punch and counter punch as his avatar, so when things go right, it's totally Decepticon technology. When things go wrong, it's always Autobot technology, and that's why I blame Twilight in that regard. But I definitely agree with BroccoLee and really, Trax, I forgot your name for a split minute there. I do agree with them that we do need to set a baseline area for it, and I'm thinking, Cyber League 3 gives us a fairly decent competitive edge and level there. It can be easy for some higher level bots. It can be a little bit difficult for some lower level bots, but that would be a very decent baseline. I can see Cyber League definitely being that calibration point. I really think it should be handled in that regard. But and I do agree with a lot of the testing that BroccoLee brought up, and that's the whole thing, is that we're not given, as playtesters, we're not really given a excuse me, guys, we're not given that baseline level to play from. Is this a zone 16? Is this a zone 17 bot? And everybody except like BroccoLee, Trax, myself, and a few others understand that not everything is targeted for Prime League hard mode. But I do agree with my fellow playtesters here, Trax and BroccoLee, that we do need to have some unified baseline. And I am agreeing that I think Cyber, like I said, I'm saying like Cyber League level 3 would be a good baseline, because that way you can move up and you can move down. Would be a good testing ground and good calibration ground for combiners, and not just combiners. We could do it for bots too. Excuse me again. So I think this is a pretty good conceptual idea. I mean, especially considering I got a frog in my throat all of a sudden. Especially considering that when we look at the overall, rankings of the combiners here, Bruticus shows up first as a 5-star, then Overlord, who is buggy and glitchy as hell, and we all know it. Especially on defense, if it tries to target a defensive bot, it's over with. You can definitely get around it. Now, I think in terms of the stats wise, and I know BroccoLee, Trax, Fireclaw, Twilight, and myself, and I'm including Fireclaw in this because I brought forth a couple of his ideas to the playtest as well. When it comes to a class of anything, of a bot, of a Titan, of a Prime, or even of a combiner, there should be an expected baseline, that being stats, that's being ability cost. And I know that somewhere in the past we had worked it out that combiner abilities should be changeable. At max time cooldown for them should be 30 seconds, irregardless of the star level. 30 seconds should be the maximum, especially given the fact that most of the combiners in higher leagues won't last that long when we're trying to chain abilities. And that's another consideration that we have to take into account, is what abilities can we chain, which ones can we not. And that's been a bone of contention, I think, amongst guys like me and Twilight, J-Rad, Fireclaw, Trax. We all want something to be able to work in concession. Dino King is kind of one of the better combiners in that regard, where we can somewhat chain his abilities, at least for the first go around. But the cooldowns can kind of hurt you in that regard. But I mean, Volcanicus and Predaking, they can have their abilities chained to at least the first run of every ability. God Neptune used to be able to. So I mean, in this regard, I think balancing combiners in general would probably be a lot of mechanics reworks for the combiner system. And I'm not talking just about the cost of them, because I mean, when we first got the first 5-star combiner, and I'm not talking about Overlord or Omega Supreme in this case, I'm talking about our first genuine bot-based 5-star, we had a lot of ideas about how are we going to upgrade it. Is it going to be 5-star shards? Is it just going to be a Z Energon upgrade? Is it any one of these things? And then apparently our questionable indecisions from the playtest group came by, and they're just like, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of everything. So yeah, it's going to be tough to justify the 5 stars now that it's 5-star shards, it's Energon, and all this other stuff. Given the state where the 5-star combiners are going, and the reworks that are happening, I'm not going to say I'm entirely happy with how we got Bruticus out. I kind of liked how he was, 2-3 weeks ago. I found them to be rather competitive and rather decent. But at the same time, did he compare to the likes of Dino King or Lyo Kaiser and Computron or Volcanicus and Predaking? No, he was still low man on the tier in the terms of the 5 stars. He still is, in my opinion, despite the fact that they rank him a little bit higher. He's got, quote unquote, the most power right now. And as we all know, the power ratings don't really mean much, sadly. If it was a little bit more statuary to where we could conceivably use the power as a good baseline, then we might be able to really get the system refined and honed down and get some solid ideas over getting these combiners balanced well. Let's bring up everybody's wonderful favorite bone of contention, God Neptune. 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, we got the Legacy patch update. They fixed and they killed God Neptune Ruination. The only reason why he was such a great combiner that everybody loved was because he was broken, and that he could solo just about any level base out there, given any good usage. I'm not going to say that was the right decision to go, but it did kind of set the bar pretty high. And even when we were reworking 5-star Predaking, we're like, is this the bar that we're running? Or is Predaking going to be the new bar? And we found out that, yeah, Predaking's going to kind of be the new bar on that, not God Neptune. Because they fixed them, they nerfed them. And I know a lot of people are heartbroken and still upset and still jaded about what they did to God Neptune and Ruination. I'm not disagreeing with you guys. It was wound way back, way too far back. It did not, comparatively, and all of us, I think, in playtest, Trax, BroccoLee, Jacada, myself at the time, we all agreed. We do agree. Yes, God Neptune Ruination need a fix. They do need to be fixed, but leave them where they are. Set that as the new standard for all the combiners. And that was almost a resounding, unanimous thing for them. And then we found out, yeah, our favorite combiner got his kneecaps blown off and got waylaid to the junk pile. So this is what we're talking about being able to balance these combiners properly. There shouldn't be a set of arbitrarily set specifications for each combiner. Combiners should have a minimum baseline. Hey, a 4-star will do 950 damage. It will average between 9,000 and 9,900 health. Then from there, the 5 stars, give it a 30% around the base. Boom, move it up just like all the other stats. Increase the damage, increase the health, increase the ability damages. I mean, to be completely honest, we still have a little bit of nerfs here on the ability damages for all the combiners. They're not in line with their intended or potentially designed usage. And so we really need to find a better way. And I think today's stream we've got a lot of good ideas about how we could help combine a unified path to help balance the combiners. And I realize that probably from a coding point of view and from a server point of view, that's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of mechanics changes. And I know JRAD is going to mention, if he hasn't already, he has, the Dino King Raiden should get the bugs fixed with them. I think, honestly, that if they're going to have, while we're talking about Raiden and Dino King, an ability interrupt where you tap on one, it starts to go, or doesn't even trigger at all, and then you go with another ability that ceases that. There should be some form of disclosure in the fact that it may have, an ability interrupt in that regard. But and Trax is saying, he told Dale that it was disheartening what they did to Ruination in Playtest. The responses, we've gotten similar responses, Trax, that it's all hyperbole or hyperbolic, or we're being over dramatized, or anything like that, and we were. I'm sorry, when the almost the entirety of Playtest is saying the same thing, and let's face it, Twilight can attest, Trax can attest, BroccoLee can attest. Playtest very rarely ever agrees on anything, almost unanimously. We agreed on what was done to God Neptune and Ruination unanimously. That was like a first for Playtest. It really was. And we haven't quite gotten that unity back. But BroccoLee's suggestions and thoughts. BroccoLee, if you're all right with it, I'll share it on my Discord server. We'll probably do it as like a balancing combiner or combiner balancing channel on my Discord server, so that we can conceptualize and keep this discussion going. We've got this is going to be a long and difficult road to accomplish getting these combiners balanced in a way that is beneficial for all level of players, not just the prime leaguers, not just the high-end guys like myself, not just the mid-level, the higher mid-levels, and even the new guys. These things need to really be, we need a baseline, we need a calibration level, and I think Trax, BroccoLee, and myself are all kind of in agreement that Cyber League is working. Now I'm proposing go Cyber League level 3, because that way we can go up and down, kind of like a dial or a gigameter or whatever. We can calibrate from there. But Brock, I'm gonna share your notes from your testing, because it didn't get to go over them all, and we kind of, that's what I love about this. We can start on a topic, we can continue drilling through the topic. We all want to say something there, and we don't always get through the topic. But I think, in conclusion, we definitely need a baseline for the 3-star combiners, for the 4-star combiners, and the 5-star combiners. On every other rank up from 3-star to 4, we get a damage and a health increase. From 4 to 5, we get a health increase, and we get a new ability. We need to also concentrate on that health increase too. That's another aspect that we kind of mostly have all agreed is that combiners, 5-star combiners, are not are not in a state where they're wanting to be chased. Most of us are like, yeah, hey, we've got it, big deal. I'm not promoting it. I'm not denying it. We'll try it out. We'll test it out. We'll work with it, and then that's the end of it. And that is what kind of has a lot of us seriously aggravated and confused, is that we don't have clear purposes for all of these combiners. There were many times, even during the Bruticus rework, we were asking, is Bruticus geared towards defense? Is Bruticus geared towards offense? Is he geared to doing a little bit of both? And we never got a clear direction. We never got a clear answer on that. So it's been up to us playtesters and now the rest of the community to figure out what the best role for this combiner is. But guys, thank you for joining the stream today. Thank you for the wonderful interactivity that we always have on my streams. I like exploring these concepts. Brock, like I said, on my CFTactics Discord channel server, I'll set up a combiner balance channel that'll be open to everybody, not just the subscribers, so that we can get some really, really good feedback from the rest of the player base, continue the discussion on the server. And remember, everybody, enjoy the game, have a good weekend. If you're doing the event, great. If you're not, I'm personally, I'm not doing the event this weekend. I don't really see the means to it. And Claw, thank you for being able to get one. We are the ones. Thank you for becoming a regular. Fireclaw is a regular. Brock, I hope that you become a regular. I know Trax is a regular too, so I'm glad to see that I'm getting a regular following on my streams. So for that, I thank you guys. And have a good weekend. Have a good event. And as always, my friends,